Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Rescue the Embassy Mission, brought to us by Kemco. Rescue the Embassy Mission is an interesting title that it's one of those ones that I didn't quite understand when I was younger, but now have no issue when it comes to conquering the game's premise. In the game, an embassy has been invaded by terrorists, and you have to control a team that has to get into sniper positions and then go into the embassy itself in order to save the hostages and take out all the terrorists. The game is broken up into multiple different styles of gameplay because of this, and there are a lot of different difficulties you can choose from. I'm going to be playing the game on the hardest difficulty with the least amount of time in order to complete the mission. While the game kind of makes it seem like there are more missions to the game with the way that you select things, it really is just the difficulty and setting up the time limits. After the kind of introduction to the game and you get your main title screen, we then get all the different difficulty options and time options, which basically mean the spotlights during the opening part move faster, there's more terrorists fire a little bit faster, so we're going to be playing on the Commander difficulty as well as the Jupiter set of rules. When the game starts off, you have to get the 3 snipers into their position. They are at different parts and you have to kind of move them to the correct locations. If any of your snipers get taken out during the course of the mission, you can still continue as long as you have one that ends up making it to their post. It just makes things a little bit more difficult later on, but it's still really quite doable. The game's map is relatively easy to read once you understand it. You can stop in doorways and the like and kind of get a better idea of what the map is and like how much the movement is, but after you play the game a few times, you'll eventually memorize which of the buildings you have to enter with each of the different snipers. The hardest thing about the game, of course, for this part is not getting killed, as one shot from the guns will end up defeating you, and you have to roll your way out of the way of the spotlights themselves. The timing is very specific. Thankfully, since this is the very first part of the game, I usually like to take a lot of risk, because if I end up dying, I can just easily reset and I'm not losing a whole lot of progress, and I can complete the area within only a few minutes, so I have plenty of time for the last part of the mission, which is the hardest and has the most amount of time you're going to need to spend in order to complete it. You can see the bullets when they start firing from the spotlights, usually even before you're like right in the spotlight itself. You can see where some bullets are going to come. Usually I get to the very edge of a spotlight and then roll through, though if it's a little bit higher up or if it's on the ground itself, the timing is a little bit different. You can duck and crawl your way under certain spotlights, and the speed of the spotlights themselves are going to be dictated by the difficulty that you end up selecting. The third and final one of the snipers gets in position here at this weird kind of patterned door. It's a very different looking building than a lot of the other ones. Once you have all the snipers in positions, or however many survive to the positions, you then move on to the next part. Now, during this part, this is when your like infiltration unit, the ones that are going to be going inside the building, they arrive and go on kind of the roof of the embassy itself. But first off, we're going to use the snipers in their 3 positions to take out a couple of the terrorists. To do this, you pick which one you want to control, and then you move the cursor, the sniper's scope, down to the different windows where you'll see somebody moving back and forth. Line up your shot appropriately and fire, and as long as the silhouette disappears, then you know you have successfully taken out the guy. So if you fire and there's still a silhouette moving, then you missed your shot, but if the silhouette goes away, you have completed it. Then we're going to infiltrate the building itself. To do so is one of the most finicky control schemes in the game. You have to press down lightly, move a little bit, and then quickly press up on the D-pad. So you move a little bit down and then hit up. If you don't do it correctly, you end up falling off of the building and you lose that member of your team. Of course, you have 3 members of your team in order to complete the mission itself, and if all 3 are taken out, then it's a game over. This is the longest part and the final part of the game. You have to move around the embassy itself and take out all the terrorists. In the upper left corner, you see how many terrorists are left in total and how many on each floor. As you take them out, of course, whatever floor you're on, it'll start to decrease that number, and the terrorists are always moving around. They're moving from room to room, different locations, so usually the best strategy is moving around fast yourself to make sure that you're not going to miss any of the terrorists as they're running around. Of course, you have until the time limit ends up running out to find everyone. everyone, and usually I don't have an issue doing so. The best strategy though for this is every time you move, just keep firing. Now, sometimes when I'm moving around, I don't fire at certain scenes, but for the most part, you'll notice I just fire a lot of just random shots in the air because I'm unsure of when a terrorist is going to appear. The harder the difficulty and the like, the faster that the terrorists get the jump on you and end up firing. So, since you have unlimited ammo, it's best just to keep moving the camera and keep firing every time you change the scene. Hanging out near the staircase, usually, of each of the floors is a good place in order to kind of get a lot of the terrorists to kind of bundle up. But I haven't found one sound strategy that ends up working above all else. Usually I still have to hunt down a bunch of the terrorists and kind of go from room to room, and it's really kind of sporadic, I know, when you're watching it to kind of follow what's going on, but usually I have a good eye on my lower left corner map to see where I'm located, and I'm paying more attention to that than what's going on screen, because as long as there's a terrorist there and I'm pressing the fire each time, I'm going to hit them. And a lot of times the terrorists, especially on floors 3 and 1, stand out more because of the different color background. Floor 2, also being green, they don't stand out quite as well, but for the most part, it's really easy to kind of tell where each of them are if there's going to be one on screen when you move, and easily get that shot off. Once we take them all... If you're wondering, the setup for the building itself, as far as like the room layouts and all, is always the same each time, no matter what the difficulty or anything ends up being. So really nothing ends up changing, even though the different missions and the way they kind of have it set up would make you think it does, but really it doesn't affect much. Especially when you end up getting down to like 1 or 2 on a floor, it can be a little bit tricky sometimes to actually locate those final ones, and other times you may get lucky and a whole bunch of them kind of just run at you all in a row from screen to screen. Once you've taken them all out on the second floor, we're then going to move on down to the first floor and take out the rest of them. Now, because they move around, sometimes they will go back up floors. In fact, I've had it on a couple of practice runs where I was down to the very last floor, and then all of a sudden there was like 1 or 2 that ended up going all the way back up to the very top floor, the third floor. So that is a possibility because it's really completely random, making it a bit difficult if you're trying to have like a precise, perfect game. If for some reason, though, you end up getting shot by the terrorists, you can just switch off to one of the other ones that are on the roof and keep going from that point, and things don't end up like resetting, so you're easily able to get back in and take out the rest of the remaining terrorists, as long as you still have enough time left. If the time runs out, it's also, of course, a game over. Though, as long as you're able to get past like the first couple of parts, usually it only takes about 3 or 4 minutes of in-game clock to hunt down each of the terrorists and take him out during this particular segment. Down to just the last 2 that we need to find, 1 on this floor, and as you can see, 1 ended up moving back up to the second floor. And sometimes I move too quickly and I end up missing a terrorist, which is always annoying because I saw him for a brief second, could have hit him, and then I have to kind of like chase him down and see where he ended up going with all the different doors. Once the last terrorist is taken out, you can sit back and enjoy the ending to rescue the embassy mission. And there you go, rescue the embassy mission. It tells you, of course, which mission and difficulty you completed on, as well as how long it ended up taking you, along with the picture and little brief description. Not much of an ending. The ending does change up a little bit, though, depending upon the difficulty and all that you pick. Sometimes it's just kind of like a blank screen that has press start and tells you to try it on a harder difficulty. But this was the hardest difficulty and best ending that you end up getting for completing the game. After the ending, though, you can then press start, go back to the main menu, and choose some different settings, and start the process all over again. But with that, guys, that's going to wrap up this episode of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.